My best friend claimed she had cancer, so I gave her $15,000 from my savings, but she used it for a vacation with my boyfriend. So I did this at her fundraiser, and she went nuclear. Throwaway for obvious reasons. Myself, my ex-best friend, and my ex-BF are all late 20s. I've known Crystal since we were 13. Like, we're talking 15 years of friendship, sleepovers, being in each other's weddings, when we eventually get married. The whole thing. She was my emergency contact before my boyfriend. That's how close we were. Or I thought we were. God, I feel so stupid typing all this out. So I'm a registered nurse, been one for about 5 years now, and I've been super careful with my money the last 4 years because I've been saving for a house down payment. Like, I haven't gone on vacation in 3 years. I drive a 2010 Honda that makes weird noises sometimes, and I basically never eat out unless it's someone's birthday kind of saving. Most of my friends live way more, extravagantly than me. Crystal especially has always been the treat yourself type who buys designer stuff and goes on weekend trips, which, whatever, her money, her choice. I've been dating Blake for 2 years. He works in pharmaceutical sales, this is important later, and makes decent money. I actually introduced him to Crystal at my birthday party last year, and they seemed to get along fine. Like, not BFFs or anything, just normal friendly. Nothing that made me think twice. I should probably mention that Crystal has always been a bit dramatic. Like, in college, she had us all convinced she had a stalker for weeks. We were walking her to classes, checking in on her constantly. I even stayed at her place for 3 nights. Turns out, it was just some guy from her biology class who happened to live in her building and had the same schedule. But she was so convinced this guy was following her, and there have been other things over the years. Mystery illnesses that disappear, family emergencies that seem to happen right before major exams, that kind of stuff. But I've always stuck by her because when my dad died suddenly 5 years ago, aneurysm, no warning, I still have nightmares, Crystal was there for me. She slept on my couch for 2 weeks. She made me eat when I couldn't get out of bed. She helped me pick out his casket when I was a mess. When it really counted, she showed up. Anyway, about 4 months ago, Crystal calls me sobbing, like couldn't even speak sobbing. She asked if we could meet at the coffee shop near her apartment as soon as possible. I was actually about to start a shift, but I called in and said I'd be late because she sounded really upset. When I got there, her eyes were all puffy and red, and she had this folder of papers. She kept trying to talk, but breaking down. Finally, she told me she had been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. She showed me these papers with all this medical terminology, which, looking back, I should have read more carefully. I'm a nurse, for God's sake. She told me they found it during her annual exam, and after more tests, it wasn't good. I was just in shock. She's only 29. Cancer wasn't even on my radar for her. I asked about treatment options, and she explained there was an experimental treatment her doctor recommended. She said insurance wouldn't cover it because it wasn't FDA approved yet. I suggested she ask her parents for help, and she explained they were already financially strained helping her brother through rehab, which I knew was true. Her brother has struggled with addiction for years. Then she mentioned the cost, $15,000, and she looked so hopeless sitting there. I didn't even hesitate. I told her I would help her with my savings. She hugged me and promised she'd pay me back every cent once she was better. I transferred the money to her the next day. Didn't even ask to see more paperwork or talk to her doctor or anything, which now seems so fucking stupid. Like, I verify medication orders 3 times before administering them at work, but I just handed over my house savings without verification. What the actual hell was I thinking? After that, Crystal started getting weird about her treatments. She'd always have excuses for why I couldn't come with her. She claimed the treatment center didn't allow visitors, or that she'd look too sick after, or that her mom was taking her. And honestly, I didn't push it too hard because I was picking up extra shifts trying to rebuild my savings. My sister Jenna actually warned me about Crystal years ago, said she seemed to feed off drama and attention. We had this huge fight about it and didn't speak for like 6 months. We only started talking again last Christmas. Wish I'd listened to her now. So fast forward to last week. I'm scrolling through Instagram and see that our mutual friend Zoe tagged Crystal in some photos from Bali, like literal paradise beach photos with the geotag and everything, during what was supposed to be Crystal's 3rd round of chemo. And then I saw him, Blake, my boyfriend, with his arm around Crystal in multiple photos, looking very much not like a supportive friend. I literally threw up. Not exaggerating. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. The times Blake was working late or at a conference lined up exactly with when Crystal said she had treatments. They've been sleeping together and she faked cancer to get my money for their fucking vacation. And now, I just saw on Facebook that Crystal is planning a fundraiser next weekend for her final round of treatment at this local restaurant, asking friends and family to support her cancer journey. I haven't confronted either of them yet. I'm still gathering evidence and trying to figure out the best way to handle this. Part of me wants to show up at this fundraiser with receipts, literally and figuratively, and expose them both. But another part of me wonders if that's too extreme. Edit. Since so many are asking, no, I haven't confronted them yet because I want to be 100% sure of everything before I do. Also, I've checked, and in my state, she can technically claim it was a gift since I willingly transferred the money, so I'm not sure if I have legal recourse. Edit 2. Yes, I've already checked with the hospital where she claimed to be getting treatment. They have no record of her as a patient. Edit 3. To those saying I'm making this up, I wish I was. I literally wish this was just some creative writing exercise and not my actual life falling apart. But whatever, believe what you want. Now for the first update. It's been a really fecking awful week. Like the kind where you don't remember if you've eaten or showered and then suddenly realize it's 3 a.m. and you're Googling how to tell if someone is a sociopath for the 5th time. After finding those Bali photos, still can't believe this is real life. I've basically been this weird emotional mess where I'm sobbing 1 minute and then filled with rage the next, and then sometimes just nothing. Like yesterday, I was brushing my teeth and apparently just stood there staring at the sink for like 15 minutes until my neighbor knocked because they could hear the water running. Super normal behavior, right? Ha. Anyway, after the initial shock wore off and after I stopped throwing up, not exaggerating, I literally threw up when I saw those photos. I went into what my sister Jenna is calling nurse investigation mode. Basically, I became obsessed with gathering all the evidence because some tiny part of my brain was like, maybe there's an explanation. There wasn't. The first thing I did was text Blake. Just super casual, like, hey, how's your day going? He replied, at this boring pharmaceutical conference in Chicago, miss you, babe, with a heart emoji. Meanwhile, I'm literally looking at photos of him with his arm around my best friend on a beach in Bali from that same day. The absolute audacity of this man. So after confirming that he was 100% lying to my face, I started collecting everything. I took screenshots of all Crystal's cancer journey posts where she talked about her chemo fatigue and her brave fight and put them side by side with the Bali vacation photos from the exact same dates. I printed my bank statements showing the $15,000 transfer. I saved our text convos where she was telling me she was too weak from treatment to have visitors while she was literally parasailing in effing Bali. But the thing that really confirmed everything, I called the oncology center where she claimed to be getting treatment. Guess what? They have no record of her. Not now, not ever. The woman I spoke to actually seemed concerned and asked if I wanted to speak to patient services in case there was a mix-up with records. But there wasn't. Crystal has never set foot in that hospital. I also reconnected with my sister Jenna, who, as I mentioned in my last post, tried to warn me about Crystal years ago, and we had this huge fight about it. I went to her place and just broke, like collapsed on her kitchen floor, ugly crying, while admitting that she was right all along and I'm a complete idiot. Oh, and while talking to Jenna, I started reaching out to some mutual friends, and turns out Crystal has been collecting money from other people too. Not as much as she got from me, but like $500 here, $1,000 there. From what I can tell, it adds up to maybe $5,000 to $6,000 beyond what I gave her. She's been running a whole cancer scam operation. I even called Crystal's parents, pretending to check in on how they were coping with Crystal's illness. They told me they thought she was at some specialized treatment center during the exact time she was in Bali with my boyfriend. They sounded so worried and tired. They have no idea what's really going on. That call made me feel sick all over again. After gathering all this stuff, I decided to call Crystal directly. This conversation was, I don't even know how to describe it, like talking to a stranger wearing my best friend's face. I called and asked how her treatment was going. She pretended to be weak and tired, claiming the chemo was really taking it out of her. I let her go on for a bit. I was recording this call. My state is one-party consent. And then I casually mentioned seeing photos of someone who looked exactly like her in Bali recently. You guys, the silence on the phone. Then she got all stiff-sounding and was like, "You must be confused, and those must be old photos," or something like that. I straight up asked her, "Crystal, have you been lying about having cancer this whole time?" She immediately got super defensive and started saying I wasn't being supportive, and how could I accuse her when she's fighting for her life and all this bullshit. I brought up seeing Blake in the photos too. She claimed they must be photoshopped or old or something. They were literally tagged and dated from that week. And then I heard Blake's voice in the background asking who she was talking to. I'm not even making this up. She quickly said she was feeling ill from the chemo and hung up. Within like 10 minutes, I got a barrage of texts from both of them. Crystal saying I was being paranoid and needed to get help for my issues. Blake suggesting I should talk to someone about my trust problems and that he was worried about me. They were literally trying to trick me into thinking I was the crazy one. That was the moment I decided I wasn't going to just confront them privately again. They don't deserve that courtesy. They deserve to be exposed for the lying, manipulative people they really are. So Jenna and I came up with a plan for Crystal's upcoming fundraiser. Yes, she's still going forward with it, can you believe? She's planning this whole event at this restaurant where people are supposed to donate money for her final round of treatment. I've created this whole presentation with all my evidence. Screenshots, bank statements, confirmation from the hospital, everything. I've practiced what I'm going to say like 100 times. I even reached out to the venue owner where the fundraiser is happening. He's actually a former patient of mine from when I worked in post-op recovery. I explained the situation, and he's agreed to help me with what I'm planning to do. He lost his wife to actual breast cancer 2 years ago, so he was not happy to hear about someone faking it for money. I know some people might think public humiliation is too harsh, and honestly, I've had moments of doubt. This is someone who's been my friend for 15 years, someone who I thought would be in my wedding someday. But then I remember how she's exploiting people's compassion over a fake illness, one that so many people actually suffer and die from, and I just can't let that stand. But then I'm like, am I being too dramatic? But then I remember the $15 and the boyfriend, and I'm like, no, this is appropriate. I don't know. My emotions are all over the place. Last night, I laid out my outfit for the fundraiser, reviewed all my evidence one more time, and then I got a text from Crystal asking if I would say a few words as her best friend at the event tomorrow. The audacity, the absolute nerve. That text honestly erased any lingering doubts I had. Tomorrow is the fundraiser. I'll update you all afterward. I'm so nervous. I can barely type this, but also weirdly calm. Like when you know you're about to do something huge, but there's no turning back. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I've considered just going to the police instead of making a scene. Yes, I've thought about it, but from what I've researched about fraud cases like this, they're really hard to prove without a confession. I'm hoping that a public confrontation might actually lead to that. Edit 2. To those saying I should just walk away and cut my losses, I understand where you're coming from. But this isn't just about me and my $15 anymore. It's about all the other people she's scamming, including her own parents who are worried sick about her, and the cancer patients she's mocking with this whole charade. Edit 3. Some people are asking about Blake and if I've confronted him directly. No, I haven't. I don't even know what I would say to him at this point. Hey, why are you on vacation with my best friend while she pretends to have cancer with money I gave her? Like, what explanation could possibly make this okay? Anyway, he's been blowing up my phone asking if I'm feeling better and if we can talk about my paranoia, which is just, wow. Now for the second update. I know a lot of people have been asking for an update after my post about the fundraiser, so here it is. I've actually been putting off writing this for a while because even though it's been 6 months since everything went down, I still get this weird, tight feeling in my chest whenever I think about it all. But I guess writing it out might help me process everything. I don't know. Anyway, so the morning of the fundraiser was surreal. I woke up feeling strangely calm. I remember standing in my closet for like 20 minutes trying to figure out what to wear, which is so stupid considering everything else that was happening, but I guess my brain needed something normal to focus on. I ended up picking this navy blue dress and blazer combo. My hands were shaking so bad that morning that I spilled coffee everywhere when I was trying to make breakfast, like all over the counter, the floor, my socks. And for some reason, cleaning up that stupid coffee mess was weirdly centering. I got to the restaurant about an hour early. The owner, my former patient, let me in through the kitchen so I could set up without anyone seeing me. When I peeked into the event room, I saw Crystal's parents setting up photo collages of her. There were recent pictures where she was wearing this headscarf she never actually needed and looking all brave and sad for the camera. It hit me that I was about to completely shatter their world too, and I almost lost my nerve right there. But then I reminded myself that they deserved to know the truth. The owner helped me connect my laptop to their projector system. He was so angry about the whole situation, kept muttering about his wife, who died from actual breast cancer 2 years ago. People started arriving around 6, about 40 people total, all there to support her brave fight against cancer. And then Blake walked in. He was doing this whole supportive friend routine, helping set up chairs and talking to Crystal's dad. I literally had to go hide in the bathroom for like 10 minutes because I was afraid I would scream at him. By 6:30, the room was full, and everyone was mingling and eating appetizers. Blake kept giving me these weird looks from across the room but wouldn't make direct eye contact. Such a coward. My sister Jenna positioned herself near the back exit. We had discussed him potentially trying to escape when things got real. And then Crystal made her entrance. She had gone all out with her fake cancer look. She had makeup on to create these dark circles under her eyes. She was walking all slow and fragile-like, and she had this silk headscarf covering her totally fine, not falling out hair. She even had the nerve to be carrying a little medical bag that was supposed to look like some kind of post-chemo medication or something. Everyone got quiet when she started her speech. She talked about her cancer journey and how grateful she was for everyone's emotional and financial support. She had actual tears in her eyes, you guys. Tears for a cancer she did not have. Then she singled me out. She pointed to me and told everyone how I had been there for her from the very beginning of this journey. Everyone turned to look at me with these smiles, and some people were even clapping a little, and I thought I was going to throw up right there. When she finished her speech, she asked if anyone wanted to say a few words of support. This was the moment we had planned for. I stood up, and Crystal looked at me with this fake, tearful smile. I walked to the front of the room. Everything was moving in slow motion. I remember making eye contact with Jenna, who gave me a little nod. I told everyone I wanted to share some information about Crystal's journey, and then nodded to the owner, who turned on the projector. The first slide was a split screen. On one side, Crystal's Facebook post from exactly 1 month ago, talking about how she couldn't get out of bed because of chemo fatigue, with all these sympathetic comments underneath. On the other side was an Instagram photo from the exact same day of her parasailing in Bali, with the location tagged and everything. The room went completely silent. I explained that this was Crystal on what she claimed was day 3 of her chemo treatment, but she was actually in Bali on vacation with my boyfriend. Crystal immediately jumped up and started saying I was confused, that the photos were old, that I was lying. But her voice had completely changed from the weak cancer patient voice to her normal voice, which pretty much everyone noticed. I just kept going through the slides, screenshot after screenshot. Her posts about fighting for her life next to photos of her living it up on beaches. The bank statement showing my $15,000 transfer, the official letter from the oncology center confirming she had never been a patient there. Crystal kept trying to interrupt me, but each time she did, I just played the next piece of evidence. When I played the audio recording of our phone call where Blake could be heard in the background, her face just changed. I told everyone that Crystal hadn't just been taking money from me, but she'd been running this cancer scam on multiple people. That's when Crystal's mom stood up. She was shaking. She asked Crystal what was going on. Crystal started screaming that I was just jealous because Blake had chosen her over me, that I was making everything up because I couldn't handle being dumped. Blake tried to slip out the back door at this point, but Jenna was blocking his way. She asked him if he was going somewhere loud enough for everyone to hear, and all eyes turned to him. Crystal's dad asked Crystal to show him her medical records right then and there. She started stammering about how they were at home or at the doctor's office, and he just kept asking her to show any proof. And that's when Crystal lost it. She grabbed a glass of red wine from a nearby table and threw it at me. Most of it missed, but some splashed on my blazer and the evidence printouts. Then she started screaming that I was mentally unstable, that I was jealous of her, that I was obsessed with Blake, and couldn't handle him breaking up with me. Even though, reminder, he never broke up with me. He was cheating. The restaurant owner stepped in when Crystal tried to grab my laptop to stop the presentation. He physically blocked her, and she started screaming at him too. The whole room was in chaos. Some people were crying, others were on their phones looking up Crystal's social media to confirm what I was showing. Crystal's mom had sunk into a chair with her head in her hands. Crystal's dad kept demanding she tell him the truth, and she finally just broke down sobbing. Not the fake cancer patient tears from before, but like ugly crying rage tears. She screamed at her parents that they never pay attention to her unless something is wrong. At that point, I think the reality of what was happening hit me all at once, and I just broke. All the calm I had been forcing just vanished, and I started sobbing. Jenna came over and hugged me while I completely fell apart. Crystal's parents were apologizing to everyone in the room. The restaurant owner was asking people to please leave quietly. Blake was being cornered by some of Crystal's male cousins, who did not look happy with him. Crystal was eventually taken out by her parents while she screamed threats about suing me for defamation and how I would regret this. The aftermath has been complicated. I filed a police report for fraud the next day, but it's been difficult to move forward legally. The detective I spoke to said that because I willingly gave her the money, it would be hard to prove criminal fraud without Crystal explicitly admitting that was her intent. But Crystal's parents were so mortified and angry that they forced her to sell her car and return my entire $15,000. I got a cashier's check in the mail about 2 weeks after the fundraiser with a note from her dad apologizing for the pain their daughter had caused me. I felt terrible for them. Like, imagine discovering your adult daughter is this kind of person. Our friend group completely fractured after everything. Most people sided with me, obviously, but there are still a few who think I was too harsh in how I exposed Crystal. Like, a couple people have said I could have confronted her privately, which is just, are you kidding me? After what she did. Oh, and the outfit I wore to the fundraiser, I ended up donating it. Couldn't stand to look at it in my closet anymore. Too many memories, which sucks because it was a nice blazer, but whatever. About a month after everything went down, I got this email from Crystal's younger sister, Sarah, who wasn't at the fundraiser. She's away at college. She apologized for Crystal's behavior and told me something that honestly made a lot of things make sense. Apparently, Crystal has had this pattern of faking illnesses for attention since she was a kid. Her parents had even gotten her into therapy for it years ago, but obviously it didn't stick. Sarah said she always felt like she lived in the shadow of Crystal's various emergencies and crises, which doesn't excuse anything Crystal did, but it helped me understand it a little better. Like, this wasn't just about the money or even about Blake. It was this whole messed up need for attention that has apparently been there forever. Speaking of Blake, he has tried to contact me multiple times in the past 6 months. His story is that Crystal manipulated him too, that she seduced him by pretending to need comfort during her fake illness. Like, I'm supposed to feel sorry for him or something. I've blocked him on literally everything. My sister ran into him at a bar last month and he had the nerve to ask her to tell me he misses what we had. I told her if he approaches her again to remind him that I still have all the evidence of his role in Crystal's fraud scheme and would be happy to share it with his employer. It's been 6 months now, and I'm slowly rebuilding my savings. More importantly, I'm slowly rebuilding my ability to trust people. My therapist says that's going to take time, and I need to be patient with myself. Sometimes late at night, I still wonder if there was a gentler way I could have handled the whole situation. But then I remember that she was about to scam even more people at that fundraiser, people who might not have been able to afford it. And I think about all the people who really do have cancer and how her fake journey was such a slap in the face to them. So while the public confrontation was painful, I don't regret standing up for myself and potentially protecting others. Crystal has apparently moved to another state to start fresh, according to mutual friends. I haven't heard from her directly since that day, and honestly, I hope I never do. Edit. Several people have asked if I'm dating again. No, definitely not ready for that yet. The trust issues are real, folks. Edit 2. To those saying I should have just let it go and moved on without the dramatic confrontation, would you just let it go if someone stole $15,000 from you and was sleeping with your partner? Also, she was actively in the process of scamming more people. Should I have just sat back and let that happen?